Okay, we are ready to get started, and I'm so excited to have my Senior National Sales Director, Candy Carlson, here with us today. It's a treat. She's my Mary Kate mama, and I met Candy. At first, I knew her on the phone because I was a new consultant living far away, adopted into a unit here, and those were the days of you could call people collect because long distance was expensive. And so I knew she was my link. I knew she was the leader link. I signed up in April and not met her. And so I would call her collect almost every morning because I knew that she had knowledge that I needed. So I called her about every morning from April until June. She told me to go to a seminar. I didn't know what seminar was. And I remember you called. Back then, we were in a rush to get our tickets in. And you called. I was out of town. And so you said to my husband, she said to my husband, we need Kate's credit card. We got to get her signed up for a seminar. And so, you remember this? Yeah. And so Dave called me. He said, do you want to go to seminar? And your director thinks you need to go. And I said, absolutely. She thinks I need to go. This woman walks on water. She has commission checks that I die for, looking at the Applause magazine. And so he said, okay, I'll give her the credit card. I'll call her and give her your credit card. So she signed me up. She signed up my hotel. I was out of town, and she took care of all that for me. And then I booked my flight, and off I went. And that was the first time I met you in July at seminar, having had a phone relationship for 4 months. And I would say just admiring, respecting, and wanting to emulate you. And then I got to meet you in person. And it's a little emotional, but you were everything that I needed. And
you were everything I needed.
Well,
symbiotic.
You were the positive influence, and you came into the picture and you showed me the dream and believed in me. And as I said last night to everybody last night, nobody gets to the top in anything, and especially Mary Kate, without somebody. And Candy believed in me, and so I will eternally be grateful to you. So without any further ado, I want to give to you the gift of my Senior National Sales Director, Candy Carlson.
So I'm going to make every effort to pretend this thing here, this recording is not happening, so that I can be real with you. And I've said to Kate on the phone that we bounce off each other very well. So if you have carte blanche to add in, interrupt, the only thing you're not allowed to do is disagree.
I don't think I'll disagree on that.
And this is my favorite part of the trip, except for all the private time with Kate and Callie. But directors are it. You are the people I came to see. It's all about you. And you are oftentimes the unsung heroes of the company. Our company does not run on nationals, it runs on directors. So I want you to reach over and pat the girl next to you on the back, and then I'd like you to stick your elbows out and rub elbows with her. You are rubbing elbows with the cream of the crop. You are the company's present, and you are the company's future. And what you choose to do with your opportunity will change thousands of lives. Callie is always so generous with her words of affirmation, and she made me cry last night because at Carrabba's, when we were out partying after the party, we partied without alcohol. Yeah. It's still a party. And Callie said, what if that hostess, that second day hostess, had let you quit? If you weren't there last night, my first show was such a disaster that the next morning I told my hostess scheduled for that night that I had decided not to pursue Mary Kay. And she said, you can quit tomorrow, but tonight you're giving my sisters and my mom and me complimentary facials. And Callie said it occurred to her, well, you can tell them, I don't need to say what occurred to you.
It really took me back
for a moment because I thought my whole entire life was stretched my life to be different. And that had not happened. And I shared that with someone this morning, a new consultant struggling with after a first party. And I said, you just never know whose dream is all yours. And you haven't done that.
And she was an unborn child. She was little more than a twinkle in Dave's eye at that point. So, we all have heard of the butterfly effect. We know intellectually that our lives impact others. We've all watched that Christmas movie with Jimmy Stewart, right? With the Wonderful Life. His sister-in-law's favorite movie. But the thing about Mary Kay is you'll have so many opportunities to see it. You'll be able to trace your butterfly effect, which most people can't ever do. They never know, and they don't have an angel ringing a bell that's going to show you. But in Mary Kay, you will be able to trace your butterfly effect, and everything you do matters. So I brought my little well. How many of you have ever used one of these in real life, the big ones? No, this is an actual well. I was raised on my grandpa's dairy farm, and we did have running water and plumbing, but when I was out in the back playing with my cousins at the barn was quite a ways from the house. And if we got thirsty, there was an old well out there, and attached to the old well was a rain bucket. It was metal, and it was always had water in it because of the rain. And what we needed to do was we needed to pour water into the well, and then we needed to pump. Now, here's what I remember as a little child. This pump was hard. It was rusty, and it was hard to pump, and we had to learn that we would have to pump our little arms off as partners for a long time, about 5, 6, 7 minutes, and nothing was happening, nothing. But that was because the water table was 100 feet down in Stillwater, New York. And so although we couldn't see it, Grandpa had explained that while we were pumping, there was a big long pipe going all the way down, and the water was coming up that pipe, but we couldn't see it. And we had to keep pumping, and he explained that if you stop pumping, immediately the water starts to sink down again. So you have to pump on faith. You have to pump and pump and pump on faith that something is happening, even though you cannot see it. The other thing I remember is that once the water started to flow, then we had to continue to pump, but it was easy. Now the water was almost working the pump. And even with our little hands, as little as Maddie and Braden's, our little hands, just a couple of fingers gently keeping that pump moving up and down would keep the water flowing. But as soon as we stopped, the water would stop flowing, and it would sink all the way back down. And when we came back for a drink, it started all over again. And so I think, the most important thing to remember as sales directors is that you need numbers and you need momentum. And you may be pumping like a little Trojan, working like a dog, and nothing seems to be occurring. But I admonish you that you must keep pumping. You, as sales directors, you can plan your days off. You can plan your vacations. But you can't plan lengthy relaxations, no matter how good the reason, because all the water is going to sink back down, and you're going to be back at point A. And point A is not a fun place to be. The company appoints you to sales director when you have 24 active people, and they're pretty much tapped out by the time you get there. And you got to get to 50 just as fast as you can. And 50 is when the water begins to trickle out. And I recommend then that you pump to 75, and then that you pump to 100. And then you can start doing the steady pressure. But you know, it doesn't take long, even for a going unit to dry up. And it happened to me. I won 3 consecutive top director trips. The first one, I will like you. If somebody asked me how I did it, I would have said, I don't really actually know. Looking back, I think I know now how I did it. But and then I remember Sue Kirkpatrick saw me 6 months after my first trip at Leadership Conference, and she said, "Are you looking forward to going to London?" And I looked like this, and she said, "You don't believe you're going to make a second trip, do you?" And she said, "It's been all over your face." And it was all over your face in Hawaii. She said, "You have to believe it, and you have to keep going." And that gave me a little push, and I made that second trip. And then I made the third trip, and then I got a little cocky. And I see this happen to new Cadillac directors. They get a little cocky. And I stopped pumping. And do you know, I not only didn't make the trip the next year, I lost my Cadillac. This is not what you came to hear, not uplifting at all. But you know, the beauty of Mary Kay is that Kate's practically perfect. She's like Mary Poppins, but people like practically perfect in every way. But you get the benefit of my experience, good and bad. So what I can promise you today is that I won't teach anything that I don't personally do. Even if I hear a fabulous idea from someone else, and I think that is a fabulous idea, I don't actually usually pass those on because I don't feel I can teach that with integrity. The other thing that I will promise you is that there's a what, a why, and a how. And the how is the least important thing. The how is the least important. And we may not get to all the hows today because you can go to my website and see all my hows. What's more important is that we understand what our primary philosophies, our guiding goals and principles are, and then you may reach it a different way than I reach it. So I want to start with what I perceive as the job description of Mary Kay. Because although the company is going to be talking unit size like mad the next many months, that is not necessarily all you want to be focused on. Because you know what? You can recruit 100 family and friends consultants without a lot of trouble. They are darn easy to sign up. But they're not going to make you a lot of money. We need big units of people who at least initially sign up to do the job. So if I were running a bank and I needed a bank teller, if I hired 20 women to be bank tellers who refuse to get into the window, can I run my bank branch? No. Well, ladies, you got to be recruiting women who want to do the job. That is why they sign up, and your life will be so much easier. So here's how I perceive the job description of Mary Kay. The job description of Mary Kay is twofold. Mary Kay used to always talk about our dual marketing plan. You don't hear that very often, but it's what separates us from the other direct sales companies. The dual marketing plan of Mary Kay is that sales and recruiting are separate. That is not true at Amway. You know, if you sign up for Amway, you buy your products from the girl who recruited you, if she's a direct, and you get this much commission. And until you recruit your way to a new level, you don't get a commission raise. Your sales commission slides and falls, so rises and falls with your recruiting. That is not true in Mary Kay. In Mary Kay sales, you make 50%. You make 50% from day one, right? You make 50% whether you're a national or a brand new beauty consultant. Recruiting is separate. And your recruiting commissions are based on your people's sales. And isn't that wonderful? Any percentage of zero is what? Zero. And, you know, she designed it that way because she had been in other direct selling companies. So, first of all, whenever somebody joins one of these other companies and they tell you, it's just like Mary Kay, trust me, it is. For one thing, they didn't have Mary Kay. And for the other, they didn't have her philosophy, which was she wanted to change women's lives for the better. And when we recruit, we offer the preeminent direct selling opportunity in the world. So sales and marketing, dual marketing, sales and recruiting are dual marketing plan, and I look at it like my shoes. Now, do you like my shoes today? Some of you liked my shoes last night. They're wonderful.
I like your tight.
Yeah.
You're tight. I like your tight.
Oh, the tights are glittery. Here, you gotta show the camera.
I don't know how to do that.
Let's see. Gracefully. Gracefully.
Now here's the thing. I took my leaders to Human Markets in Dallas to eat in the famous Zodiac room at Seminar. And on our way to the Zodiac room, we stopped in the shoe department, and I tried on a pair of $1,800 shoes that have diamond dust soles.
Diamond
What? Incredible. Now, 1,800, a little high. So I said to the sales girl, it's a little more than I wanted to spend. I'm willing to spend $900. Which shoe do you think I should buy? And she called security. She said, now had I actually done that, which I certainly did not, let me ask you this. If I could only afford one of these shoes, which one is more important? I really need the left one, right? I really need the right one.
You need both to work together.
You need both shoes. In Mary Kay, sales and recruiting are the two shoes of the business, and you need both shoes. You need both shoes. And whenever you're learning from someone who seems to think you can hop along on one of them, find a new mentor. You have to have, I don't care if you have 1,000 people in your unit, if they're only buying for themselves, you're going to be frustrated all the time. And they're going to be selling to people that another real consultant put on the product. Because that's what those consultants do. They can't afford to order 450 retail, 225 their cost once a quarter. And so what do? They go to their office and they say, I'm putting in my Mary Kay order. If you want your stuff at half price, let me know. Mm-hmm. And you, who worked like a little Trojan, booking that girl, facialing her, teaching her what she needed, are going to lose those sales. So I do want to encourage you to, yes, I want you to recruit, but I want you to recruit real people who want to sell. Now, here's the other thing that's interesting about Mary Kay. This is a national sales director. A national sales director's job is to, here's the job description that I never did get to. The job description in Mary Kay is to give away complimentary facials in groups of 6. And to share career information one-on-one. The job description is to, shoe number 1, give away complimentary facials in groups of 6. Shoe number 2. share career information one-on-one. Now let's talk about the why. The why of that is that women shop for major purchases with a friend or two or six. How many of you have ever known a girl who is freshly engaged and planning a wedding? I didn't see her back. So she's got this shiny new diamond ring. She's planning her wedding. She works as an office girl. As she's closing up her desk, she looks at her watch and she says, those pork chops are still going to be thawing. I've got an extra 45 minutes. I think I'll just stop over at David's Bridal and pick up a wedding gown. How does she pick out a wedding gown?
Yeah. Say hi tea and have your bridal appointment.
Isn't that true? Her whole posse.
Yeah.
She takes them and they go to David's Bridal, and there's a stage, and they seat her little posse around the stage, and they take her into a dressing room, and the sales girl very carefully brings beautiful gowns, and she puts the first gown on, she walks out on the stage, and she looks at her friends. And the sales girl is talking in her ear and going, oh, it's one of a kind, it's beautiful, it's on sale, it's perfect, it's for you, does she care? No. She looks at her friends, and her best friends go, back to the dressing room, tries on another gown, and she might try on a bazillion gowns, and it isn't until everybody, including Mama, says, honey, that's good. And then she looks at her friends who she thinks have better taste in her. And they go, good. Yeah, that's the one. You know, when I became a national sales director, I went gown shopping. It was going to be the first year that I was introduced as a national at awards night. And I had bought many gowns in the past, but this year I figured somebody might actually be looking at me. So I took Jenna, my daughter, who's my fashionista daughter, and I took Esther, who is my fashionista best friend. And we went to every store in Cleveland, Akron, Canton. I tried on 1,000 gowns, and it was just like the sales girl in my ear. I'm looking out. I walk out. Jenna goes, didn't even wait for Esther's opinion. Wear another gown. Esther's going, maybe. Jenna's going. And I remember the gown when I walked out, fourth or fifth store, third or fourth gown at that store, when Esther went, you look pencil thin. So here's the thing. You do one-on-one facials. Now, I don't like one-on-one facials. One-on-one facials are, I built this relationship with this girl, but now I got to close her. And closing her at a one-on-one facial makes me feel like I am reaching into her purse and pulling out her wallet. I hate that. But at a party, I'm conducting a class. This is just a point of information. Miracle set is $100. With it, you get this roll-up bag, you get this, you get that. Right? At a facial, I tell her that the repair set is $200, and she goes, I love it. But Stan would kill me. And I lose that sale. At a party, the same girl says, I love it. But Stan would kill me. And her friend goes, Stan? Stan, who brought home the $200 putter last week? That Stan? And her mom goes, oh, honey, you're just always doing for everybody else. Get it, honey, you deserve it. Do you need help? I got my checkbook. And you've made that sale. Women buy in groups. If it's a big purchase, and most women, that $100 to $200 skincare is a big purchase. They need affirmation. Or they buy because their best friend just was closed over on the couch and she walks back with her miracle set. And now it's okay because she bought it, I can buy it. But let's think about job interviews. How many of you have ever been on a job interview? Did you bring your mom? Did you bring your posse? And if you had, you wouldn't have gotten a job. But here's the thing about one-on-one. You're like a bartender in a one-on-one interview. She will tell you things that she has not told her best friend. Her certainly something she never wants her mom to know. Some of it's kind of scary, what she'll tell you. But even if it isn't, it's her insecurities, her concerns, her worries, she will lay before you, and you have an opportunity to overcome them. Now, I am not saying don't do guest events. I'm not saying that at all. But we need to equip our people to do one-on-one interviews. They need to know how to do that because you aren't always going to be there for her as her director. You won't always have Callie or Kate to drag her in front of. You want to equip your people to stand on their own 2 feet when you are long gone. So there's a third job description that applies to national sales directors, and that is we have to be duplicatable. We have to be repeatable. I have to not just know how to do an amazing skincare class. I have to create tools that will allow you to do an amazing skincare class, and you have to have tools for your people that will allow them to do an amazing skincare class. I have to know how to close an interview, to conduct it and close it and get a yes. But I have to be so repeatable that after a girl has seen me do 6 interviews, she's not impressed with me. You have failed if your people watch you do 6, 7 interviews and then they go, how do you, everyone was totally different, totally tailored to her. How did you know what she needed to hear? Now you may be getting a lot of feel goods from that, but you have convinced her that she can't do what you do. She is not you are not repeatable. At the end of 6, 7 interviews, you ought to have a girl going, okay, got it. Fine, I can do that. No worries. That's what will make you a national sales director, and you are all, should be all nationals in the making. A national sales director creates a minimum of 20 sales directors who can stand without her. They love to have her visit. They appreciate her. But believe me, Kate DeBlander does not need me. She does not need me. Hasn't for 25 years. No. No, I mean. Oh, okay. That's your goal, just like as a mom. Isn't your goal to be able to have your daughter put a meal on the table, right? So you gotta be repeatable. Now here's the thing about becoming a repeatable director. People do not learn by watching. I watched my mom make a cream sauce 1,000,000 times growing up. She creamed everything. She creamed dried beef. She creamed eggs. She creamed cauliflower. She creamed corn. Cream sauce. I don't know. Top of the 50s. Everything. They creamed it all. You remember any of this? But I remember a newlywed, and my husband, of all things, wanted cream dried beef on toast. He liked it. He thought it was good. Actually, I think it's good. But, anything salty is good. I didn't have a clue. So I called Mom, and I said, how am I going to make this? And she said, oh, honey, you can do it, just like Mary Kate's mom. And she said, okay, honey, you need, she told me what pot, and then she said, all right, you need 2 tablespoons of butter. Put the burner on low medium and melt the butter. Okay, now you need 2 tablespoons of flour and you whisk it in so there's no lumps. Okay, now you need a cup of milk. Pour it in. Stir it up. I'm going, Mom, this is not a cream sauce. This is wet flour and butter. And she said, you just keep stirring, honey. You just keep stirring. I go, it's not working. She goes, just keep stirring and keep talking to me. It'll work. And amazingly, all of a sudden, this beautiful, flavorful, perfectly smooth cream sauce emerges. And now I can do it. What did I have to do to learn it? I had to do it, but she had to give me the tools. She had to give me the instruction. That was it. She couldn't, you can't just watch. Can you learn to drive a car by watching? No. You've got to do what? Get behind that wheel. Y'all remember the first time you were behind the wheel? I remember we owned a blue, metallic blue Rebel AMC car. It's kind of sporty. And my dad's taking me out. And white knuckles, right? And what I remember is when we came back, Mom said, how'd it go? And Dad said, well, if we'd had another coat of paint, we'd have had several collisions. Get it?
Yeah.
But here we are. But now, now look how we drive. I mean, Kate's plugging in her phone and she's looking around and talking to me.
Making you nervous. Twice she's correcting me on my driving.
But she could have probably painted all 10 nails and toes and we'd have still made it.
My mom sent me in a field. We owned ignorance acres in Alabama, and my father was taking me in a field when I first got behind the wheel. I was just wide open trees on
no collisions for you.
On the one how to drive first left. And I still get close to the free.
So here's the thing. Here's what I see directors doing. Now, I don't know any of you, so I'm not risking offending any of you. I know nothing about any of you, and Kate has not talked in my ear to tell me, talk about this, talk about that. Good luck trying that, right? I don't know what I talk about.
Yeah.
So but here's what I see directors doing across the country. They bring in a new girl and they don't equip her. They let her watch them. But that is not enough. Having her watch you with all your eloquence in your words and that stupid instructor's guide that says nothing. On this page, you might want to share how much you love the miracle set. Oh yeah, she's going to be real good at that. Come on. So here's the thing. As sales directors, you have autonomy. I have systems in place, but you don't have to use my systems, but you have to have a system. So my system is, I used to have a script, which is what I gave my daughter. She's more creative than I am, so she turned it into a real flip chart with pictures for the guests to look at and scripts on the back. Like we used to. That's not the point. No, I'm really serious. I want this to not be the point, because usually when I hold this up, everybody panics and goes, oh my God, I need a flip chart. You need something. That is the point. You must create a duplicatable skincare class to teach your unit, and you must give her the tools that will enable her to use your class. And you must insist that she teach your class for her first 8 classes. Okay? She can innovate later, but give her something to work on. I used to teach speech. People are afraid to speak. public speaking is a paranoia, a fear. Here's how we taught. When a new person came into speech class, the first thing we did was give her someone else's speech. Give her the Gettysburg Address. Give her a speech for her to deliver. She had to learn delivery first. Then, in a more advanced area of the class later, we would teach her how to write a speech. That makes sense? Don't take a new consultant and make her create the class. Don't think she can learn your class simply by watching your class. You must give her more. The same thing is true of your interview. She needs a tool. She needs a tool. Yes, you can do a lot of recruiting with guest events, but you want her, if you want to move to a new town, you just moved from Charleston, right? Yes. You left people behind. Yes. If she hadn't equipped her people to recruit without her, that Charleston unit is destined to die. Do you all agree?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you don't need my sharing notebook, but you do need a sharing something, whatever it is, you need a system. And she needs to see you use your system at least 8 times. Now, if you're smart, you'll earn while you learn, and you'll make her put the prospects in front of you so that you get her some recruits and you build your unit at the same time. But believe me, by the end of the sharing day, after she has watched you, you want her to book 8, and how many will hold? 5. After she has watched you hold 5 sharings, at the end of the day, you have succeeded if she goes, whoa, is that it? Okay, I'm all set. I don't need you anymore. I can do this thing, right? If she thinks you're amazing and impressive, maybe you haven't made it look simple enough. So I guess that's my first charge to you, is have systems. Now, I'm pretty careful when I'm talking to people who are in my area not to insist that they be Candy Carlson systems. But if you have a national, she probably has systems, and I encourage you to learn them, to know them, to learn them. If you decide to adopt somebody else's hostess plan or whatever, I think you should run it past your national. I think you should get her opinion. We're all headed for career conference. We're all going to hear a whole pile of crazy stuff. Some good, some not so good. Have mentors that you count on. Sue Kirkpatrick was not my national, but I trusted her, and I trusted her wisdom. And sometimes when I was going to launch something really new that I had heard, I would call Sue and I would say, let me run this one past you. And a lot of times she would just say, it sounds okay, try it 6 times, and then evaluate it. Sometimes she would say, I tried something similar to that one. This is what happened to me. I don't know if it'll happen to you, but does that make sense? Mm-hmm. One of the things that happened to me during those years after I won the trips, then I lost the Cadillac, and I lost my confidence. Mm-hmm. I lost my confidence in my old systems. I lost my confidence in Sue Kirkpatrick's systems. I lost my confidence in Joe Werner's systems. I became, have you ever played pinball? Mm-hmm. The metal ball, and you go wing, and it goes ding, 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 and it bounces off all these things. That became me. Every time I went to a conference, I heard something, and I thought, maybe that's going to change me. Maybe that's going to work. Maybe that's going to work. And Kate helped me with that. You helped me in so many ways. Kate became my mentor. And I remember when she said, Candy, now this is going to sound so simple, you're going to think, Candy, you couldn't think of this on your own. She said, Candy, back when you were really successful, what were you doing? Oh, Kate. Now Kate says, old school is the new cool. Mm-hmm. I could spend the last 2 years of my career trying to learn how to do the stuff that Callie knows how to do. Or I could just keep being old school and keep going. Or I could marry the two, which is what I choose to do. Keep the core, bring in technology as you can fold it into, you can have a great double scoop cake and then you might decide I'm going to fold in some butterscotch pieces and that's going to change it up just enough, right? So I just want to encourage you to trust yourself. Trust yourself. Remember the job description. Give away complimentary facials in groups of 6. Share current information one-on-one. And you can innovate from that. Be duplicatable. You must be repeatable. Another core principle that I want you to write down is many a race is won at the starting gate. Many a race is won at the starting gate. I'll tell you, there is something more important than recruiting. I am much less impressed with how many people you signed up than I am with how many people you launch with 8 bookings. It is not the signing, it is the launching that will make a top commitment. Mary Kay Ash, never doubt this, Mary Kay Ash was a genius. And like all geniuses, her principles are timeless. You can count on them. They are not 1963. They're not passe. They're not the world is flat. Mary Kay knew the world was round. And Mary Kay was so wise when she said, you keep a girl in your hip pocket until she has booked 8 shows and held 5, booked 8 interviews and held 5. We've got, a lot of directors have checklists. I signed her, check. I oriented her, check. I gave her a script, check. Maybe I even sat with her for an hour while she made a few calls, check. No. Some girls are going to get their first 8 bookings in that hour. And other girls, you might have to sit with another hour, another hour, another hour. Another girl is only going to text, so you better figure out a texting script that will get the person to let her call it. Because it's hard to coach by text. But I'm cool with text. I have found that if I have a new girl text her friend, hey, I got something I need to talk to you about, but it's too complicated to text. Can I call you? Her friend will say, yeah, call me now. Or, no, I'm at work. Call me at 6. But that's my system. But I don't care what your system is. What's the goal? 8 bookings. The goal is 8 bookings. However you get them for her. Linda Tupin gets them for her. Linda Tupin holds a business debut. You can be one of those directors who goes, nobody held a business debut for me. Or nobody made calls with me. Fine. Are your new people launching? Are they getting 8 bookings? If they are, you're golden. If they're not, you better figure out a way to make sure every new girl gets 8 bookings. What if I hadn't had 8 bookings? If I hadn't had 8 bookings, I'd have quit after the first class. Maybe I'd have held the second class because Linda insisted I hold the second class. But you know what? After I held that second class, I still had 6 more books. So it's how you launch them. That's the training period. So as a national sales director, we're going to do a little math. As a national sales director, you produced you have, when you become a national, at least 20 units of at least 24 people. So multiply, what's 20 times 24? 480. So a new national sales director has 480 or more people upon whom she is commissioned. Her job description is still give away complimentary facials in groups of 6, share core information 101, and equip others to do the same. equip others to give away complimentary facials in groups of 6, and share career information one-on-one, and inspire them to want to do it, obviously. So she is paid big bucks. She's like at the university, a full professor. A full professor is paid the most of all the teachers at a university, even though basically he is still doing what an executive senior is doing. This is an executive senior sales director. This is Callie. She's cute. Callie's job as an executive senior sales director is to give away complimentary facials in groups of 6, to share career information one-on-one, to inspire others and equip them to do the same thing. Except for that one amazing month, typically Callie's monthly check is less than a national because she's commissioned on fewer people. An executive senior sales director has 5 offspring or more, plus her own unit. So again, just doing minimums, what's 5 times 24? You know, you all have calculators on your phone. One of you ought to be pulling it out. If you're too lazy to do the math, you're never going to make it to executive senior. 120 people plus her own unit. So she's not commissioned on as many people, and that's why she makes less money. So she's like an associate professor at the university. She does the exact same work as a full professor, but in Mary Kay, you're paid on position. Wait, I lost her bottom. This is a senior director. She has 1 or 2 offspring. So she, if they were minimum, is commissioned on 2 times 24, 48 people plus her own unit. Her job description is to give away complimentary facials, to share career information one-on-one, and to inspire and equip others to do the same thing. She's paid pretty good bucks, but she's not paid as much as the executive senior because she's paid on position. She's kind of the assistant professor. So we've got full professor, associate professor, assistant professor. They have the exact same job description, but in Mary Kay, you're paid on position. This is a sales director. Her job description is to inspire and equip others to do the same. She's paid at least on her unit of 24 people. And of course, you know, everybody also has sales. She's like the teaching assistant. She's working for tuition, room and board. If you're sitting as sales director, we love you. It's time to move. Your job is to inspire and equip others and move up to this position. And when you're in this position, it's to inspire and equip others and move up to this position. Unless you are already 65, your job is to become a national sales director. That's the job. If you are shepherding your little flock and you're not equipping them, you're like a mother who won't allow her children to leave the house. How many do you want to keep living with mom? They don't need it. But you gotta inspire and equip them to move up. This is a grand achiever. Her job description is to give away complimentary facials in groups of 6, to share career information one-on-one, to inspire and equip her team members to do the same. She has a team of 14. Same job. Not real big pay. This is a team leader. Her job description is she's commissioned on 5 people, plus she has her own sales.
Oh my God. I don't think you could put that anymore.
This is a beauty consultant. Her job description to give away complimentary facials in groups of 6, to share career information one-on-one, to inspire and equip somebody, anybody. She is paid well for her position. And that's the thing I want you to understand. The size here, size matters. The size here, though, does not represent her worth as a human being. The size represents how much she's going to be paid for the sphere of influence she has created. The size is her sphere of influence. Okay? Mary Kay, in her genius and her sense of justice, has made sure that in our company, this girl is well paid for her sphere of influence. She's making a 50% commission on everything she sells, and she is not limited in her in the amount of time and effort and customers she's willing to service. That is not true in other direct sales companies. In other direct sales companies, this is how they look at them. They're nobody. That is not how we look at them. This only represents sphere of influence, okay? So I challenge you to, number one, understand the beautiful simplicity of our job description. Don't bastardize it. Now, what do I mean by that? When you bring a new girl in, her friends, she has probably been depositing into their emotional bank accounts for many years. Her friends care enough about her to do her one favor. You have to be very careful what favor you suggest she ask of those friends. If you say to a new girl, sell $24 to 24 people in 24 hours, she might do it, and she has now used up the one favor that friend will give her. I have now helped her. I have launched her. She wanted to sell me. She wanted me to buy 24 bucks. I did. I'm done. So in my unit, the one favor I want my new girls to ask is, I need to practice on your face. Could I practice on your face? I actually need to practice on 40 faces. Could I practice on your face and 5 of your friends' faces? Could I do that? Because then eight of you will help me get to 40 faces. The one favor I want my new girl to be launched with is a hostess. A hostess. And you know what? If she makes a list of 30 prospects, she can get 22 no's and still end up with 8 hostesses, right? And I'll tell you, I believe in that so strongly that I will sit with her and inspect what I expect. And that's the next thing I want as a director. I want you to write down, inspect what you expect. If I recruit a new girl, which I just did last month, yay for me, yay. I will sit with Michelle while she is launching. I will say to Michelle when I see her Thursday, how's your list coming? of prospects, and she will say, it's in my head or it's in my phone. And I will say, let's get it onto a piece of paper. I'm old school. I'll just say, I'm much older than you. I got to see it on paper. And if she kind of looks scary, I'll say, hand me your phone, pull up the contacts list. And then I'll say, who's Alicia? Can we put her on the list? And she'll say, no, you can't put Alicia on the list. Why not? She doesn't wear cosmetics. Well, that's okay. Humor me. Let's put her on the list. And I'll write Alicia down and her phone number. And then I'll say, who's Dr. So? That's my gynecologist. Male or female? Female. Oh, good. Let's put her down. I can't ask Dr. So. That's okay. Just humor me. Let's just put her down. You know, if you personally take her phone, you're going to get 75 women on that list. And here's the thing. Even though there are many women on that list she doesn't want to call, it's going to give her confidence just to see that many names. When I was teaching school, I remember I taught 8th grade one year, and the first school dance was coming up. And the guidance counselor said to me, I need to come in and talk to the boys in your homeroom. And he said, can you send the girls to the library or somewhere? And so I arranged with the home ec teacher to have the girls go watch some film. And I wanted to see what's he going to say to the boys in my homeroom. So he said to the boys, he said, okay, the dance is Friday. How many of you are going to the dance? And a few hands went up. And he said, all right, now when you walk into the dance, there's going to be all these pretty girls. He said, and there's one that you really want to dance with. But he said, I want you to look them all over, and I want you to make a list in your head. I would be happy to dance with her or her or her or her or her or her. He said, and then I want you to just walk right up to the closest one and ask her to dance. And if she says no, I want you to go, okay, and walk away saying, who's next? He didn't want them all focused. And that's what we have to do for a new consultant. We have to get her focus off the 4 people she thinks will see, she hopes will say yes. And we have to help her see, you have 75 prospects here. We only need 8 to say yes. It becomes much more possible. And if I'm sitting with her, if somebody says no, or if somebody hurts her feelings, or if somebody says, why did you join that? I'm there. And I can help her hang up the phone and go, tell her in your head, not to her face. Wrinkles to you, honey. And who's next? Let's call her. Now, here's the thing. Callie can't do that with all 13 new recruits that she has this month. And some of them, many of them are in Texas or Tennessee. But if you start, all of you who stood up with your personal recruits that you signed, if you do it with your personal recruits, she'll get a recruit. And when you say to her, have you scheduled your time to get her launched? She'll do it. And then that girl will do it. And that's what leads to the duck. My duck has been everywhere with me. And I will need a picture so I can post it, because my whole area is going to want to know that my duck made it to Pensacola. So the story of the duck.
Got it.
The story of the duck. This came from Anita Mallory, who was making $1 million a year when she retired. So I earned a one-on-one session with Anita Mallory the year before I became a national, and I go and I don't know what I thought was going to happen. Well, Anita has her shtick. She's not real interested in what you have to say, but she's got a lot to say, and she was talking about ducks. And she says to me, Candy, do you understand how ducklings imprint? And I said, no. I have no idea. She goes, well, Candy, you've seen mother ducks and their babies following them across the road. And I said, yes. And she said, well, when the duckling hatches out of the egg, it imprints on the first motion it sees, and that is usually its mother. And that is why ducklings follow the mother. And the ducklings will do whatever the mother does. And if the mother crosses the road, the ducklings cross the road. They don't look left and right to see if there are cars coming. They just follow mom. And if the mother jumps in the pond, the ducklings jump in the pond. They don't go, that looks a little deep, or that looks a little chilly. They just jump in the pond because they've imprinted on mom. She said, but do you know that if a duckling hatches in a cage in a lab, and its mom is in a different cage, because the kid in the lab coat is cleaning the cages, and he moves mom, so he's cleaning the cage around the egg. That duckling will imprint on the kid in the lab coat, and will follow the kid in the lab coat. Now, I don't know how far you can carry this metaphor. I can't really picture that duckling will start cleaning cages. But she, in any case, claims that they have proven this. And they have also proven that when they reintroduce the actual biological duck mom to these ducklings, it doesn't matter. They can't get the duckling to re-imprint. The duckling wants to follow the lab kid. So what does that mean to us as sales directors? It means that it's essential that your ducklings imprint on you doing the things you want them to do. Because then, that's what they will do with their ducklings. And you will build a legacy. You will build a legacy. So even though I didn't teach any of you, and I never taught Callie, some of what Kate imprinted on, she has passed on to you. And when I'm dead, people that have come from Callie will still have a little bit of my imprint. Powerful, isn't it? Talk about the butterfly effect. So it's very important that as you create your systems, you believe in those systems, that you expect your people to follow your systems, and that you inspect what you expect. Just because it's their business, that doesn't mean they have carte blanche. Mary Kay Ash, I knew personally. And let me tell you, she was not the cream puff you guys think she was. I got this stink eye from Mary Kay more than once when I veered off the path. I remember being flown into Dallas because I was a top director, and we were going to come up with a new hostess plan. The vice presidents of the company thought we needed a new hostess plan, and we needed to be doing color programming, winter, summer, spring, fall, and all this stuff. And we sat around this big table, and Mary Kay was there, and the vice presidents, and Kathy Rasmussen, and a couple nationals, and me, Kathy, yeah. And we're talking about this new hostess plan, and Mary Kay was not happy. Not happy. She had worked hard on the notion that a hostess earns 10% credit based on what the guests purchase, and that it is double the 20% with 2 future bookings, and that you would have a high hostess of the week, and the high hostess of the week could earn this beautiful piece of luggage. And the way it worked was at the end of every party, you said to the hostess, "You had a great party. Your sales are quite high. I believe you might be my high hostess, and you might earn this piece of luggage. But there are a couple of other really good hostesses this week. You need to keep selling. Here are some sales books and some books. And I'll call you on Saturday morning and see how much more you've sold." And she taught us, you call at 9 a.m. on Saturday morning and you say, "Mabel, this is Mary Kay," or in your case, "This is Candy. I called to see how much more you sold since your party up just now. I think you could be my high hostess." And Mabel will say, "Oh, I haven't sold anything." And then you will say, "You have until noon. You have until noon, and you are so close. You are so close. Just sell something." And at noon, all 5 hostesses will call you back, and some of them will have sold $20, and some of them will have sold $50, and some of them will have sold $100. And you will increase your sales by $400 or $500 in that morning. And she repeated all this, which we had all heard 1,000 times. And I chose to say, oh, Mary Kay, nobody holds 5 shows a week. She had her glasses on, and she did like this. And she put them back up. And she said, well, I suggest you go home and book 5 minutes. And I did. Yes, it was still my business. I did not have to go home and book 5. I loved her, I respected her. New people, if you are kind to them, will love you and respect you, and even the new ones will want to please you. And you can inspect what you expect. Now, here's the thing. Gloria Mayfield taught us that your launching of a new consultant is like a machine. And so my dad was an inventor, and he worked for a company that made radiator and heater cores for Chrysler Corporation. And he invented these amazing machines. They were the whole length of this room, and they would feed in coils of copper wire on the front end, and it would come out at the other end, this amazing heater radiator core. If there was a flaw in the copper wire, what came out the other end wouldn't work properly. There was nothing wrong with the machine. What was the variable? The raw material. Your machine, once you get your systems in place, there's nothing really wrong with your machine. But you are feeding in personalities on the front end. Now, you're going to love them no matter how they come out the other end. But here's what I see directors do wrong. Miss Rebel here feeds into the machine, and she doesn't want to book her 8 parties, and she's just going to sell out of the book, and she's not going to have a sharing day with you, and she's whatever, she's going to do whatever. You love whatever comes out on the other end. That's what we do. But there's nothing wrong with your machine. You don't change your whole system because you had a rebel raw material coming into it. But directors do, don't they? Yeah, don't they? The most common thing I hear is, well, I tried that, but they won't do it. It's not your machine, it's the raw material. And you know what? Just because she won't do it this week, things in her life might change. You know, her husband might lose his job or get his hours cut, and then all of a sudden she's back going, let's talk about how to book those 8 parties again, right? So again, write this down. Trust yourself. I want you to trust yourself. You are amazing. You have done what 99% of the other consultants haven't done in becoming a sales director. You got this, babe. Say this. I got this. I got this. I got this. You don't need Candy System. You don't need Gloria Mayfield's machine. You don't need Kathy Lou's machine unless you're in her area. Then you better do what she says because she's Mama Duck. But are you with me here? But you need a machine. You need a system. And you need to know that many a race is won where? At the starting gate. And so how are you launching her? The other thing you need to know is what your personal goals are. And your personal goal is to increase your sphere of influence. Increase your platform. The job will never change, but your sphere of influence will change. Your other job is to figure this out faster than I did. You know, be Leah Carta, don't be Candy Carlson. The job is the job is the job. Pretty much all I got. Now, seriously, I could talk for another 20 hours, but
Can you tell us the story of when Mary Kay challenged to do the same thing?
sure.
Thank you for asking.
So, yeah, one of my dearest possessions are these two, a handwritten note and a typewritten letter from Mary Kay. When I was a beauty consultant, Mary Kay was still traveling. She was everybody's national sales director, and she was coming to Cleveland, and she was going to hold a guest night on Friday. Then she was going to train any of the new consultants that we signed on Saturday morning. And then she was going to host an Achievers Luncheon. And we had to do a 10-show week to be allowed to go to the luncheon. And we could bring one guest. Not a guest in Mary Kay, though. It had to be a recruitable guest. And I was teaching school full time, and I had 140 students, so I was grading a lot of papers. And so I went up to my adoptive director, Debbie Moore, and I said, well, now, you know, Debbie, I work full time. You know how your consultants do that, like nobody else does.
Yeah.
And I don't know what I expected Debbie to say to me, like, okay, you can just do 5 or what. But she went, I know, Candy, it's going to be quite a challenge for you, but I know you're up to it. And my back went out after the first party. And my husband, who I divorced later, you know, when you hear stories of my husband, you think he sounds like he was a nice guy. He was not. But that week he kind of rose to it, and he was literally taking me to my parties and propping me up and setting up the tables at my instruction and then waiting out in the car for me. Anyway, I did the 10-show week, and I went to that affair. And it was wonderful. And then 20 years later, Mary Kay Ash made the directors sign like a blood oath that we would do 20 classes a month. And it was actually at a time very similar to this time. Very similar. Sales had fallen off. Recruiting had fallen off. Director debuts had fallen off a little bit. But thankfully, we had Mary Kay. And Mary Kay knew that nothing happens. And she knew that we were the mother duck. And she knew that if we would hold 20 classes in a month, people would start holding classes again. So I didn't do it, and I didn't do it, and I didn't do it. And then it was December, and I had to do it because she was hosting a dinner at the San Antonio Leadership Conference in January for all the directors who held 20 classes in a month. I was in cancer treatment. I had quite a selection of wigs because I had no hair of any kind anywhere. I didn't have a wig for that, but I was not feeling beautiful. I did not want to hold 20 classes. Mary Kay was on the phone with me a lot during my cancer treatment. She called frequently to check up on me. And, you know, at some point I thought, surely Mary Kay is going to say to me, I really want to see you, Candy. I want you to come to that dinner. I know you're too sick to hold 20 classes. No. She would end the phone call with, do you have your 20 classes booked? Yeah. I know. Not a cream puff. Did I mention that? Not a cream puff? She wanted us working. Get out to work. So it was December, and I booked and held my 20 classes. And I felt triumphant. And, you know, those of you who were there last night, I talked about mastery as an intrinsic motivator. And, you know, Kate said when we were driving from the event to Carrabba's that she liked to win the contest. She loved the prizes, but that, you tell them. I don't need to talk to you.
The winning of the contest is what has driven me and continues to drive me even more than the prize. Mastering it, getting it done, achieving it. the feeling of achievement will drive me more than pride.
And that's what intrinsic motivation is. It's not created externally, it's from within. And I felt amazing. I had done this. Ball with a Martian. I had held 20 classes in the month of December. I know. How great am I? I got to go to the dinner, and I ended up at Mary Kay Ash's table. And I even have some pictures somewhere, which I cannot find.
I was there too. I have pictures as well.
You did it too?
Yes.
That
Yeah.
shows you how narcissistic I am. I don't remember. Kate.
Yeah. And Kathy was there and Esther was there. I think
No,
there was,
They were not.
maybe it was
That
a
I would
different one.
remember.
Really?
It
I
was
have
me
pictures
and
of
Ray
2020.
Zanobi from my future area team.
Well, maybe it was a different one, but it was a 2020.
Well, this was January 1996, and I was at Mary Kay's table. And the reason that is important for you to know is because Mary Kay had her stroke 2 weeks later and never spoke again. And what if I had chosen to procrastinate one more time? You know, you have today and it's all you have. And whatever your challenges are, just the fact that you're in this room tells me you could have a sitter for more hours than you have. You could have a housekeeper for more hours than you have. You could convince your husband who doesn't want you to leave but 2 nights a week that you need 3 nights a week. You are in a position to work now, and you may not be in a position to work later. My friend Marsha Fisher was a future national sales director, and her offspring is Debbie Moore. And her second one is Kathy Lee. And Marsha Fisher built the Cleveland area and built almost to national, not quite. But she was making some big bucks. She was making a lot of commissions. Her sphere of influence was great. It was great the day that she sat on the bleachers and watched her 17-year-old son slide into base and become a quadriplegic, which he is to this day. And she is his caregiver. And all these years, 20 years later, she has continued to get commission. And she will tell you, she was here, I'm so glad I worked when I was because now I can't. But I'm getting dividends. Dividends. I want to tell you something, sales directors. Let me see if I have the prop that I want to show you with me. I'm not sure that I do, but just give me 1 second. I can figure out where I put it. I went through I was looking at my area and I was just playing a little game with myself like you do in your office sometimes. And I was trying to figure out where all my directors came from. And I traced them back through the people who had recruited them. I do have it. Through the people who had recruited them to where I had met them. And what I found was that 5% of my area I can trace back to my 3rd skincare class. 16% of my area I can trace back to that first dreadful skincare class.
Oh my God.
49% of my area I can trace back to my 5th skincare class.
Wow.
And all in all, 73% of the area I am currently commissioned on, I can trace to my first 5 parties.
Wow.
Now let's turn that into some money, just so you can really get a feel for this. Hang on, don't talk right now. I want to turn this into money. In dollars and cents, last year I made $200,000, rounded down. 73% in dollars and cents, that means that $146,000 of my 2015 income is a dividend from my first week of class. What? $146,000 of my 2015 income is a dividend from my first week of class. Just 1 year. Now, how important do you think it is to launch your new consultant with a class? You have a responsibility. It is your responsibility as a sales director to see to it that every girl who comes into your unit is given the support that she requires, especially if she's a level 0 confidence, to get 8 bookings. There's nothing more important that you do than launch a new girl with 8 bookings. In my opinion, that's just my opinion. I'm sure that there will be nationals who disagree with me, but I believe that Mary Kay Ash expects every girl at every level to be making money commensurate with her investment of time. And if we don't launch her with 8 classes, she's done before she begins. Now she might fight you on it, but you give it your best shot. You try to inspire her, empower her, and equip her, because that is a whole lot of money. That is a whole lot of money. And I color coded it, and then my printer went bazooky on me. But every person in pink traces back to Becky Jeffy. Becky Jeffy was a woman I had met once. I went to my alumni sorority meeting, and Becky graduated as an Alpha Gamma Delta from my same college, but about 10 years before I did. And I had met her once. And when I was making my list, she wasn't in my phone. We didn't have cell phones then, but I had the directory. I had the alumni directory, and I remembered her. And I called her to book a show with me after having met her once. And 49% of my area is because I made that phone call. And she was kind and she booked. But she was a customer for 5 years before I recruited her. She became a sales director. She never even won a car as a sales director, but she was a sales director for 25 years. She had 3 offspring sales directors. She imprinted on me. She produced offspring. The problem was she never got her unit up over 30 people. She'd get to 49 and have an offspring. So keep building. But I have people, these people live in Missouri. These people live in Illinois. They live nowhere near me, and they all trace back to Becky Jeffy because she's a people builder. And that's the other thing I want to say to you. Do not quit. Do not quit. All of these people would be Becky, but she quit. Oh, I know! Let me tell you about Kate. Kate and Callie. Callie recruited by her mom. Kate recruited by Kathy Blander, her sister-in-law. Kathy Blander recruited by Kathy Kupka, who never made it past Red Jacket. Kathy Kupka was recruited by Mary Leben. Mary Leben was my recruit. Mary Leben was in DIQ about 100 times. And one of those times, she conducted an interview for Kathy Kupka, who recruited Kathy Blander, and then Mary So fall out of DIQ. So what happens when you fall out of DIQ? The recruits stay with mom.
Yeah.
All this because she couldn't finish the job. Finish the job. DIQs do not fall out of DIQ. I don't care if you gotta go live with her. Do it. You get her through. Now, you don't get her through by doing it for her. You get her through by disciplining her. Who'd you call today? Who you worked with? What happened yesterday? Oh, she said no? No, she said maybe. When's your next appointment? You didn't get a next appointment? You leave every interview with a yes, a no, or next appointment.
What's your phone number? I'll call you.
Yeah.
Thank you for that confirmation.
But what I'm going to say to all of you is, you're where you are. Don't stay there, and don't quit. If you're a senior, you're just here. Get to here, right? I can't remember who's who. I always have to start at the top and work down. But yeah, most of my money is based on people who quit. It could have been their money. I know. But here's another part of the genius and the justice of Mary Kay. Kay became national 7 years before I did. And during that time, and even before that, I made no money on Kate or any of her people, because you don't make any money on second lines. So I was making money on Kathy Lander, but I was never making money on Kate. And yet, once I became a national, they pay me. We double dip. They pay me on everything, just like they pay Kate. Can you believe this company? I didn't even earn it. But I get it, because Mary Kay is always thanking you for the work that you've done and the people that you've mentored and the people that came from those people. Then they can afford to do it because so many people quit, so don't quit.
And your income probably went from what to what? Just by
My
becoming
income
national?
doubled. Each month I became national. It's doubled. Yeah.
And then Kelly did millions, so that helped a little bit.
Everybody helps.
Everybody helps.
Yeah. I don't love her more because she did $1 million, but I am pretty impressed with her.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. And yes.
Yeah, kill that.
Goodbye.